Have you ever been to an abandoned railway station? Well, if you have, then you may know that they can be pretty eerie places, especially when there's no one around. If this is combined with some interesting backstory, it just adds to the creepiness of these stations. Well, in today's video, we will be looking at stories from 5 haunted railway stations that are sure to raise the hairs on the back of your neck. And just wait until you hear the story behind the last one. You have never heard such a terrifying tale about a railway station before. So make sure to watch till the end. Also, if you love anything to do with trains, then stay tuned for more videos just like this one. Let's get into it. Number 5, Platform 12, Grand Central Station, New York. Grand Central Terminal is one of the busiest railway stations in the world, and it was opened way back in 1913. It has seen a lot throughout its history, but one thing that has always remained constant is the alleged ghost that haunts Platform 12. This particular apparition goes by the name of Ruthie, and she is said to be the spirit of a young girl who fell onto the tracks and was killed by a train. The story goes that after she died, her body was never recovered, and she became the ghost of the station. People claim that they see her running along the platform, waving down trains, and even interacting with people. Some say that they even hear the sound of a young girl crying late at night. There have also been reports of people hearing the sound of a train whistle outside the station, even though no trains are allowed near the area. But that's not all. One worker reported seeing a little girl who appeared to be wearing clothes from the early 1900s. She was sitting on a bench as if waiting for a train. He claims that she looked up at him and gave him a strange smile before disappearing into thin air. It is said that this is because the spirit is trying to warn living people about the dangers of the tracks. Or perhaps she is just lonely and wants some company. Either way, it's best to stay away from Platform 12 at night. Number 4, Liverpool Street Station, London. Opened in 1840, Liverpool Street is one of the oldest railway stations in the United Kingdom, and it is also one of the busiest. However, the station has a dark secret, as there is a ghost that haunts the ticket hall. It is said that the ghost is that of a porter who worked at the station many years ago. He was known for being very helpful to passengers, but one day he made a terrible mistake. He helped a woman board a train that was going in the opposite direction, and she ended up being late for an important appointment. She became so angry that she took her own life, and the porter was blamed. People say that his ghost still haunts the station, looking for the woman and trying to make amends. Some say they have seen him walking through the ticket hall, or they feel a sudden drop in temperature when he is near. Others say they hear the sound of footsteps when there is no one around. It is said that the only way to appease his ghost is to leave a small gift in the ticket hall, such as a coin or a note. Number 3, Fargo Union Station, North Dakota. Fargo Union Station was once a bustling hub of activity, but now it is just a sad reminder of what once was. The station was built in 1923, and it was used to transport goods and passengers until it closed in 1973. Now it is home to a variety of businesses, but some say it is also home to a ghost. It is said that the ghost is that of a young woman who was waiting for a train when she suddenly disappeared. No one knows what happened to her, but some say that she was never on the train that she was supposed to be on. They say that her ghost still haunts the station, searching for the person who took her. Some say they have seen her walking through the station, or they hear the sound of footsteps when there is no one around. Others say they feel a sudden drop in temperature when she is near. It is said that the only way to appease her ghost is to leave a small gift for her, such as a flower or a note. Number 2, Alamo Station, Texas. Alamo Station was built in 1884 and it was used to transport goods and passengers until it closed in 1984. Now it is a museum, but some say it is also home to a ghost. It is said that the ghost is that of a young boy who was killed in a train accident. He was waiting for a train when he was suddenly hit by a freight train. No one knows why he was on the tracks, but some say that he was playing chicken with an oncoming train. They say that his ghost still haunts the station, looking for the train that killed him. Some say they have seen him walking through the station, or they hear the sound of footsteps when there is no one around. Others say they feel a sudden drop in temperature when he is near. It is said that the only way to appease his ghost is to leave a small gift for him, such as a toy or a candy bar. Number 1. Penn Station, New York City. Penn Station is one of the busiest railway stations in the world. Millions of people pass through every year, but few know that it is also home to a ghost. The ghost is said to be that of a young woman named Catherine, who worked as a clerk in the station many years ago. She fell in love with a man named John, who was a train conductor. They planned to run away together, but he was killed in a train accident before they could make their escape. She was so distraught that she took her own life. Some say that her ghost still haunts the station, looking for her lost love. Others say that she is simply trapped there because she died before she could finish her shift. Either way, her presence is said to be felt throughout the station. Some say they have seen her walking through the concourse, or they hear the sound of footsteps when there is no one around. Others say they feel a sudden drop in temperature when she is near. It is said that the only way to appease her ghost is to leave a small gift for her, such as a rose or a love letter. What are your thoughts about these scary railway stations? Have you ever seen or heard of any other haunted railway stations? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to stay tuned for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.